Are you a tenant or a landlord? And you're wondering, what are your obligations and what are your rights in landlord and tenant relationship? I want to draw you closer. I want to make a special video presentation for you. I remain my humble self, Chukwuma Nkwoka, Esquire. I want to walk you through on today's topic, which I'm going to talk to you about 40 tenant rights and landlord's obligations. You need to know all these things, all that you need to know about your obligation as a landlord and as a tenant. You need to know that. Have you been wondering, if landlord has been infringing upon my rights, what should I do? If tenants have refused to pay rent and refused to move out, what will you do? You need to know all this in now. Conclude. Are you watching for the first time? If you're watching me for the first time, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on all my social media channels so that anywhere you see the video, you can also always educate and enlighten and expose you to know more. And if you have not clicked on the notification bell, please do so that you get notification once I drop my video. And don't forget to share. Continue to share the video. If you like what you are doing, if you like this video, give it a thumb up. Click that thumb up name and notify us. I want to walk you through tenants' rights and landlord's obligation. I want to walk you through tenant rights and landlord's obligation valid by jurisdictions. But there are common legal principles and that protect both parties in rental agreements. Understanding these rights and duties help prevent dispute and ensure smooth rental experience. What are those rights? What are those obligations? Your right will become somebody's obligation. Somebody's obligation will become your right. Now I want to walk you through tenant rights. What are the tenant rights? Right to habitable living place. The property must meet health and safety standards. It's compulsory. It is an obligation for the landlord to put it in this standard. It is right of tenant to enjoy this. So, example, proper plumbing, heating, and structural integrity. So, it's very important. Landlord must address major repairs and maintenances promptly without wasting time. This is your rights. This is obligation for the landlord. So please take note of that. Then the next right is right to privacy. Note that landlord cannot enter the rental units without proper notice to the tenants. You must give the tenants notice. It is an obligation on the landlord to give tenant notice before entering to a demised premises. And it is a right of a tenant to be given this notice. So don't just feel that you can barge into somebody's house because you're a landlord. No, that tenant can sue you. If that tenant hires somebody like me, I'll drag you to court and I'll claim damages. So please take note of that. Unauthorized entry or harassment may be tagged to be illegal. They can take you to court for harassment. Anything can come up, so take note of that. Right to a written lease or rent agreements is very important. Note that as a landlord, you have the obligation to issue a lease agreement, tenancy agreement to your tenants. And as a tenant, note that it is your right to have tenancy agreement from the landlord, not you to go and draft it. It is the landlord or his lawyer that will draft and issue to you. So lease agreement must comply with state laws in the place where the property is located. So note that tenant has the right to lease that clearly state the rental terms, when the rent is starting and when it's ending. Take note of that. The next right as a tenant, you need to know your rights as a tenant. Right to fair housing. Tenants are protected from discrimination based on race, gender, religion, disability, or other protected categories under this. So note that landlord does not have right to say I doesn't want to give land to Yoruba or to Igbo, all those things. But you know, in Nigeria where we find ourselves, you can see what is happening. So, some rights are there, but to enforce those rights is another thing. Will you go and enforce it? How do you want to start enforcement? There are some rights that you have. Those rights are aberrations. There's nothing you can do. You just leave it and be floating like water with it. So take note of that. There are so many discrimination. They will tell you they don't want to give their property to Muslim. They don't want to give to Christian. You see that? I don't want to give my house to Yoruba man. I don't want to give my house to an Igbo man. Sentiment, tribal sentiment. So please take note of that. It's very important. The next right you have as a tenant is right to security deposit protection. Security deposit must be handled according to agreement with your landlord. So when you are leaving the house, if you don't spoil anything, he will give you back your money. It is your right to demand for that money. It is not the landlord's money. But unfortunately, when you pay the security deposit, caution deposit, or whatever they call it, before you know it, the landlord will see it as part of his money. It is not his money. Tenant has the right to demand for it. So take note of that. You're entitled to that to be. But if you spoil something in the house, they will use it. The next right you have as a tenant is the right to request repairs. If you feel that the property has damaged to some extent that it is no longer in a good tenantable condition, call the attention of the landlord. It is the obligation of the landlord to repair those things. And if the landlord is not the one in charge, then you call the caretaker or the property manager. So tenants can request necessary repairs, and landlord must respond with a reasonable time frame. So it notes that if the landlord fails to act, tenant may have options such as withholding rent or repair, or even end up repairing the thing and give the landlord bill. Just notify the landlord. Make sure you give the landlord notice. So, or you can even drag the landlord to court. But I will not advise you to do that, because the landlord is landlord. The Lord that called them Lord knows why they made them Lord. So take note of that. Then the next rights you have as a tenant, because this video, I'm going to make you to know all your rights, so that you will be able to stand strong as a tenant. Right to due process in eviction. Landlord does not have right to resort to self-help or to use forceful eviction method. Take note that landlord must comply with the legal procedure. He must do the necessary thing required by law. Eviction must follow the notice requirement. If you're a yearly tenant, you have a due notice, 6 months tenant notice. If you're a monthly tenant, you have your 1 month notice. If you're a quarterly tenant, you have laws stated all the same, very clear. So take note that the landlord does not have the rights to resort to self-help eviction procedure. And if landlord try that, he can take legal action. It's a criminal offense. Any landlord that wake up and decide to lock up your house, he can decide to arrest that landlord. He does not have rights to lock up your house. I've been seeing so many issues where somebody is owing rent. Landlord will walk up and go and lock up the house. Please just pray that the tenant will not hire somebody like you, because you will see yourself where you will not expect. Because it may even be a room self-contained. Please, I always advise landlords to always do the rightful thing. Don't go and be changing padlock. All this thing that you go and change somebody's key, change this thing, or go and disconnect water, or go and remove roof, disconnect lights. All these things are self-help. You must not go by that. They are illegal, and the tenant must not condone that. The only one that can condone that is those that doesn't have somebody to speak for them. Sometimes I used to do pro bono on that too. I'll just free of charge, because I don't like intimidation. I hate it. The one I hate most is tenants that will live in landlord's house and refuse to pay rent and refuse to move out. Sometimes tenants can frustrate landlord. You don't know what to do. Please, that's why it's very important that you engage professional. Engage a property manager to manage your property. Don't manage it by yourself. That's the mistake most of landlords are making. Tenants will never respect you the way they will respect a property manager. Give it to an expert. The expert will do the thing in a more professional way, and you just receive your rent and when due. Because if the tenant is owing money, do you know that the person is losing money? If the tenant leave, do you know that the person will make more money? Because in the agreement and agent's fee, they will make more money. Property manager, there are people managing property out there, so many of them. You can check online, property managers near me, you get them. So please take note of that, so you won't make mistake. Right to withhold rents, you have right. Yes, I said so. You have right to decide that this rent you will not pay for a condition where it is legal. And I want to do in some places where landlord's supposed to do something and you fail to do that. Like now, you don't have lights. Landlord promised to give lights. You have not connected lights and you are living in the house. You have right to withhold your rent. Where there is no water, landlord promised that you do borehole. You have not done borehole. You have the rights. Before you refuse to pay money, rent, you must prove that essential services that made the property to be habitable has been denied of you, and that's you have the rights. So proper legal step must be followed before withholding rent. You must write to the landlord or inform him, tell him, I'm not going to pay my rent because of so thing. Notify him. If you want to take action, you will take action. So take note, as my wonderful tenant out there, you need to know this. Now, landlord's obligations. I want to let you know about. I've walked you through your rights as a tenant. Now, I want to walk you through to know the landlord's obligation. This particular video is special for tenants. If you're a tenant in the house, you watch this video. I'm doing it for those calling me and asking me so many questions. If you call me from today again, I'll just send you the video clip. You just watch it and get yourself sorted out. So take note of that. Landlord's obligation. What are those obligations that landlord owe you? You must do that. You must fulfill the duties of landlord. One is to maintain a safe and habitable property. Ensure compliance with health, safety, and building codes. Landlord must comply with that. Address structural issues, leakages, molds, and pest infections, and other hazard issues. Some POP, some places, you see it is being affected with molds. It is landlord's work to do this. It's not your work. As a tenant, please take note of that. Yes, that's a pest control. If there's any property you are occupying and if there's any leakage, water is leaking from your house, it is landlord's obligation to do that. If the septic tank gets filled up, it is landlord's obligation to do that. I want to be letting you know all this. If the NEPA disconnect lights, it is landlord's obligation, except where the tenant decide not to pay rent. Landlord may decide to back out. So take note. If there is no water in the house, landlord has the obligation to provide the water. If the compound is not motorable and they have car, the house, it's possible to make it motorable. Maybe it was motorable when you enter. Maybe government decide to do a drainage there. It is landlord's right to put culverts. So there are a lot of things. If the property spoil, damage outside, or maybe an accident happen, fire, whatever, it is landlord's obligation. So please note all these things. Then the next obligation that the landlord has the responsibility to provide necessary repairs and maintenance, just like I have mentioned, essential utilities. That's what they call essential utilities in the house. 1, water. 2, electricity. 3, heating. This thing within the reasonable time frame. It is obligation of landlord to do that. Please, all these things are clearly outline maintenance responsibilities in lease agreement. If you don't want to do it as a landlord, state it very clear so that you will not make mistake in doing that. Then the next one, follow proper procedure for rent collection and increase. Landlord has the obligation to follow proper procedure for rent collection and increases. Landlord cannot just wake up overnight and increase your rent. Landlord is obligated to give you notice before he will increase rent. Take note of that. Don't make any landlord that just come and just decide to increase and tell you to pay immediately. Ignore that landlord. Nothing will happen. You cannot do anything. But make sure that notice has been given to you, and when they give you notice, comply. So collect rent as specified in the lease agreement is very important for those that they have rent review clause. If I draft tenancy agreement for landlord, I used to put everything in detail, everything, nothing will be left untouched. The both rent review, the term, how to review if it's 2 years, it's 3 years, or 4 years, depending on what the landlord wants. I will put everything. I will ask questions. Sometimes you see an agreement, it doesn't have some of all these things there. Now, the next obligation landlord has the obligation to respect tenant privacy. Landlord has the responsibility to give proper notice before entering the unit where the tenant is occupied, the demised premises into, except in the times of emergency, when if a house is catching fire or something is happening, landlord can enter into it. Then landlord must avoid harassment or excessive inspections or unauthorized entry. Take note of that. It's an obligation on the landlord. The next obligation the landlord has, note that I'm walking through the tenant rights and landlord's obligation, so that you know your right as a tenant. And landlord, you need to also know your obligation, so you don't make mistake to bypass. Landlord has the obligation to handle security deposit legally, to return the deposit within the required period after the tenant has moved out. Once you move out from the house and did not spoil anything in the house, the landlord has the responsibility, the obligation to refund the caution deposit, which whatever name we call it, and also provide an itemized list of deductions, if any, in terms of any time maybe they have carried out repairs and they deducted part of it. It is an obligation of the landlord to do that. It's not the landlord's money. Don't ever think that it's landlord's money. And landlord, please don't think that it's your money. Please give the tenant back. Then landlord also have the obligation to follow legal eviction procedure, issue proper notice before eviction, and what are those things? Notice to quit, notice of owner's intention to recover premises. All these things are very important. The landlord has the obligation to file for an eviction process through the law courts, not to be using police intimidation to evict you, or to use even army or frustration. Does not have rights. Otherwise, you can charge him for criminal offence for resulting under the self-help, which is against the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So adherence to anti-discrimination laws is very important, that all these things. But in Nigeria, we find it difficult to adhere to that. Landlords have those obligations. Note those things. Cannot just wake up and increase rent. You cannot just wake up and decide to evict you. Maybe you provoke the landlord, or maybe the landlord is asking you out as a young lady. You refuse to accept to concede with him. You decide, hey, you must pack out of my house. No, and he has the right to give you notice to quit. So please take note of that. Then understanding the tenant's rights and landlord obligation helps prevent legal issues and foster a positive rental experience. Both parties should communicate openly and document all agreements and all notices in writing. Please note that if you're a property manager and you are managing a property, you are acting for the interest of the landlord. Please take note that you are not to jeopardize the rights of the tenants. Action can be taken against you as a property manager, not even the landlord, because you are representing the landlord. Landlord is acting as your principal there. You are acting as agent. It's a relationship of agent and principal. Please take note of that. If you're a lawyer attorney and client. If you go there and take law into your hand, they will not go after the landlord. It's the caretaker. Anything involved, because the action of the agent is binding on the principal, except when the person is not adding within the instruction of the landlord. Please take note of that. It is very important. As a property manager, please maintain your boundaries and make sure you draft a proper tenancy agreement to give to tenants so that you will not have issue. Please, this video is specially made for landlords and tenants, most especially tenants, and also for the property managers out there. So you need to know all these things, then if any issue happen, you know how to tackle it. If you are watching me for the first time on my YouTube channel, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the notification bell to get notification anytime I drop a video. And don't forget to share this video. Share this video to any property platform you belong. Share it to your friends, share it to your wife, share it to that tenant that landlord has been oppressing. Share it to as well as those bad tenants out there that feel that everything is their right. They will know the one that's their right and the one that's not their rights. And also, please take note of that. Would you like a specific legal reference based on your location or guidance or based on anything? Drop your comments on the comment section. We are going to answer you. And if you need to reach out to me, my phone numbers are available on my website and as well as on my YouTube channel and every of my social media channel. You can always place a call across to me. I will always answer you. You can drop a comment. I can request for my phone number. I can always give you phone number. I want to always get. I'm very joyful. I derive joy in giving people insights and tips on what they need to know about the property rights. Please take note of that. If you want to know more about the tenant laws, landlord and tenant laws, tenant rights, and as well as landlord's rights, you can go and visit our website, our law firm website, www.chamanlawfirm.com. With that, you see all the articles we have written so far. We have thousands of articles on our website. We'll do that, and also, if you want to any information about the property aspect of the property management, you go to our property website, chamanproperties.com. You can go through that and you see everything you need to know about property management. And if you also want a consultation with a property manager, they have listed property managers on our website. You can consult any of your choice. So please do not resort to self-help. As a property manager, as a landlord and tenant, pay your rent and pay your rent as when due. You know, for you to enjoy your rights, you must fulfill your own obligations, because they say he that comes to equity must come with a clean hand. Please take note of that, and I want to use this opportunity to appreciate you for staying tuned to the end of this video, and I thank you and appreciate you. And I want to encourage you to watch other videos you will see on the playlist of this video, because this video is going to be on a playlist of property management playlist, so you can get more videos that will educate you there. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.